is a very distinct pleasure to have one of our colleagues and advisors in the future of critical care medicine, all the way from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. The good-looking
Tone it down.
Ince. And I just want to, I know it's been almost 2 years.
It has.
Since we have convened any live meeting and
It has.
everything. But I'd like just your, opinion on what life has been for you with this pandemic.
Well, it's been very challenging, I think, both from a personal and from a professional point of view. I'm a physiologist, so I'm a scientist in critical care. So I've had to look on to our colleagues who have been having a very, very difficult time. And I had to decide as a scientist how to position my laboratory and my fellows in that context. So we immediately rose to the challenge, and we conducted a pathophysiological investigation into COVID patients. And I think in that way we gave a contribution to what everybody is doing. And we published a big paper in critical care medicine, and we think we have a good explanation on how the body copes with the hypoxia in the same manner as it does when you climb Everest, and very different than sepsis. And so I think for a lot of people it's been a very difficult time, but for a lot of people too it has provided certain opportunities to gain more insight into the pathophysiology of critical illness.
But personally, what do you feel has been the greatest challenge for you, in this time of global
and I remember very well before he gave it, we were talking about it, and I expressed from a physiological point of view my frustration that the lung world, if I can call it that, still has not been able to develop a way to measure the perfusion of the lung, as opposed to the complete obsession with the ventilation of the lung. And I only wish we had had a method for measuring the blood perfusion of the lung during the pandemic. And that has revitalized my mission to see if we can develop in the coming years a method really to measure ventilation perfusion matching in the lung, which I really think is needed and would be very, very important for understanding what's going on with COVID-19.
Now, if you have a message to the world at large, as a scientist and researcher and physiologist, well known throughout the world, what would that be?
I think the politicians should be very, very happy that we have such a vibrant scientific community and medical community, and show a lot more respect to our nurses and doctors with the salaries, with the beds that we have, etc. They've taken for granted what has been done by this particular sector in society, and have abused it, in my opinion, for political ends. And I think it's time for payback. So I hope the politicians and the rich people start to realize that if it wasn't for science, and if it wasn't for the fact that the whole community was able to develop a vaccine in such a short time, we would have had many, many more deaths than we have had. And I think it's time to respect our community more than it has been in the past.
And lastly, what is your hope for the future? If you are to look at a crystal ball and really put your heart's desire.
Well, that there is, continue what I said, that there's more funding for science, because the science community has been stripped of the. If we look at China and we see how they're investing in science, and we look at our Western society, how they're chipping away at science, I think we really got away by the skin of our teeth in this pandemic. And I hope the community learns that we need more investment in basic science and in clinical science especially. So I hope that that's the lesson that some of these politicians will take, but I'm not an optimist on that particular scale.
But in terms of us, we hope that we could continue our good work that we started with the future of critical care medicine.
Absolutely. So at the moment now, we are here in Brussels. It's the first medical conference I've attended to since the pandemic. And I can tell you the joy and the importance of being able to talk one-to-one with all our colleagues in terms of advancing science is, in the last 2 days, I have had more serendipity type of interactions with colleagues than I've had in the past 2 years on Zoom meetings. So I think all of us here in Brussels have admire Professor Vincent and Professor Tacchioni and also Veronique for organizing this, because we really are enjoying very much, again, being able to talk with colleagues one-to-one. And this is key for science.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of courage to do that.
Doesn't it? Yes,
And
6 months ago.
That's right. And
Yeah.
the humanization aspect
Absolutely.
of it it's very much needed. All right, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And
Thank you, Elsie. Lovely.
I look forward to working with you.
Oh, lovely. Always a pleasure. Thank you.